Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So as you might know, if you have a small workshop like I do, being organised is always important to keep all of the clutter out of the way and to make more space to work in. So in this video I'd like to show you how I made this really simple yet convenient and useful small parts storage rack just out of some scrap wood. So I've got these small parts organisers. I bought them a while back and I've since filled them up with stuff. I've had this one quite a while. I've got drill bits in this one and then ball plugs, nuts, bolts, screws, things like that. But since I put the stuff in them, I've just had them on the floor stacked up, and that's really not a good way of storing them. I have to take them all off each other every time I want to get stuff out. So I really need to sort myself out with a little rack to organise all of these. The materials I'm going to be using on this project, all scrap materials. I've got these battens here, which I found thrown out somewhere. These battens that I have should be ideal for the runners. They're about 3.5 centimetres wide by 2 centimetres. And then for the back panel, I've got this 5mm bit of plywood. And then for the side panels and the top and bottom panels, I have this 14mm, I think it's pine, which I got from some old furniture. So here is a sketch that I made up with some dimensions on it. So if you want to copy this project, you can pause the screen now. I started off by marking up and then cutting the runners from these battens. I used a stop block to get consistent length cuts so that they were all exactly the same. Now I wanted to add a round over to the runners to make them more smooth. So I've got a round over bit here in the trim router. This will just prevent splintering when the organisers are going in and out of the unit. Now to cut the panels, I've got this pine. I started off cutting a clean edge on the table saw on these big pieces. Then I could move the fence over to the required width and make the cuts. Two side panels and a top panel and bottom panel. So there's the 4 main pieces all cut. Now I need to mark up where each runner will go. So I've worked out the equal spacing, and now I'm drawing a line with a ruler and a speed square either side of the runner so that I know where to glue the runner to. Once that was done, I could just transfer the lines over to the other side so they go all the way across that panel. And then I wanted to do another line in the center of these 2 lines, and that would help me to position the pilot holes later on. Then with my combination squares I could mark out where the pilot holes are going to go. So these runners will sit back into the unit
but they will be flush with the back of the unit. Then I took an awl and pushed it into the points, ready for the pilot holes. Once all of those markings were made on the one side panel, I could transfer them over to the other side panel with a long square. And again, use the combination square to add the marks for the pilot holes. Now for attaching the runners, I added plenty of glue and spread that around. And at this point in the project, I realised that I'd forgotten to drill the pilot holes first. So here I'm going ahead and attaching the runners, but then later on I'll need to remove these to then drill the pilot holes. So they had to come off so that I could drill the pilot holes. This wasn't too big of a deal. Then I could just re-add the glue and attach them. Then I added a board and some weight and let the glue set. Once the glue was set, I could flip the piece over and then countersink those pilot holes before adding some screws. I then piloted through into the runners just to prevent any splits. And added some 40mm wood screws. So that was the two main side panels complete. Now on to the top and bottom. I'm using the combination square again to add some lines so that I can establish where the pilot holes need to go. I'm going to add 3 screws either side, top and bottom. Again using the awl. And then drilling the pilot holes. So this will be attached with butt joints and glue. Again, I countersunk the holes to make the heads of the screws nice and flush. I added plenty of glue to the joints. Spread that about and then I could get the little cabinet assembled. I also drilled through into the sides just to prevent splitting, as this wood is quite thin. And that should be plenty strong enough. I then checked for square with a speed square. Then I needed to add the back panel with this 5mm plywood. So I'm just offering it up now and drawing around the size of the cabinet with a pencil. And then I decided to cut out the shape with a handsaw. Really thin material, so no need for a power tool here. And again, I added plenty of glue to the back, and those runners are sitting flush, so I could add some glue to those too, because they will be in contact with the back, and that will add extra strength. keeping everything nice and square. Then I attached the back with some staples. I added plenty all around the perimeter, and I also added some to the backs of the runners as well, locking everything together nice and strong. Now for the sanding, I just gave it a light sanding with an 80 grit paper, going over all the sharp edges just to make everything nice and smooth. And for the finish, I decided to go with my everlasting tub of grey paint. This should hide all the imperfections in the rough wood and match the theme of the workshop. I gave the whole thing 2 coats in total. I wanted to add some wheels, so I've got these casters with rubber wheels on them. Great to add wheels to anything in the workshop just so that it can be easily moved around. So I'm offering up the wheels to the base and just drawing around the holes and then drilling some pilot holes. Then I could attach the casters with some pan-headed screws. So that was the rack all finished. Now I could just add the organisers into the rack. And I also added some labels to each organiser.
Okay, so that is about it for this video then. So there you have it, there's the rack all made. And I think it's going to be really useful to keep all of these boxes out of the way, neat and tidy, and it was made just with a bit of scrap wood. So I'm pleased with how it turned out. So if you did find this video useful, please remember to like and also consider subscribing for more DIY related videos. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.